Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer, also trained in interspecies communication, which is above and beyond being a pet psychic. All my psychic abilities have been trained and honed and statistically measured, etc., by people who know a lot more than I do. And I chose a very interesting life in order to be able to bring extra information to the table. Information from the other dimensions that's usually available to very few people, even though throughout history, men of power have always used people with very developed psychic skills, plus astrologers, which is a separate um, field that is also pretty necessary, having to do with having that extra information to where you can make better decisions. So we're here today, and the title of this chat today is Creating Fair Elections, which I think is the big issue. Now, everything is a bit of a mess. What doesn't appear to be a mess, but is creating other messes, is the fact that there seems to be such an overwhelming number of people that want for Trump to be president. But then we have that in Venezuela, where we have an overwhelming number of people who wanted um, to vote Maduro out of power. And that's still up in the air. Now, people that laughed about third world countries actually only laughed because they didn't know any better, because my personal history is a testimony to the fact that behind the scenes, we're worse than third world countries. The public just didn't know. In other words, we had illusions about who or what the United States has been. And those illusions are now being broken. And when in the 90s, when I started to share my story, because nobody knew, including my husband, what my real history was, people were like, oh my God. And I noticed that there wasn't really much of a reaction in terms of, well, what are we going to do about this? There was like zero reactions. It was like, that was my story over there, and they were all over here. Well, and I said, after several months, maybe a couple of years, I said, this that happened to me, that you guys are listening to very gracefully as my story, this is going to happen to your children. And that's what's happening today. So we all need to wake up, and we need to stop pointing fingers, because we could be pointing fingers at people that are actually better off than we are, or are doing better, or we can have saying, that would never happen to us over here. And it turns out it's happening right now. It's been happening forever. So I think the finger pointing needs to stop. And we need to get to where we can focus on creating. Bottom line on planet Earth, it's a planet of free will, except we have implants. Great. Intention creates reality. Yes, except we have a subconscious. We don't even know what our intentions are there. That's getting better, because in Revelations, our subconscious is getting revealed. Okay, so we got that taken care of. So now, why did we create this mess? We weren't paying attention. We weren't focused. We didn't understand how to actively, consciously create. We didn't understand that our subconscious has very powerful intentions that overwhelm our less powerful conscious intentions. So we've been working with Venezuela, and it would appear that we've been doing a really good job. And our work with Venezuela was, first, that there be a fair election. And there was. And then we get to where we are now, where there hasn't been a transition of power, because the people that were in power, military dictatorship, said, no, they didn't really win. So the mantra that we have thousands of people repeating now is that there be a miraculously elegant transition. Not transition as somebody's going to die, transition us into governments, because somebody else won, not the dictatorship. And that is and should be ironing out a lot of wrinkles in the process of transition. So we've been actually having a lot of fun, because when we get together and we do the mantras together as a group, and then everybody starts to be able to see things because of my power of induction and because of their desire to be able to see in the other dimensions, we have found several several black magic issues that we've cleared. Um, we've had a lot of what we call our superhero SWAT team members come in to help out. So I think I want to go ahead and do the same thing for the United States. And I am aware that it might bother people. And that's okay, because I've had this incredible ability my entire life to really irritate people. Now, the people that I don't irritate are generally extremely bright people, extremely religious people, and extremely independent businessmen. Not the heads of corporations, but businessmen who may head a corporation, but he's independent. When you have to rely on a group, somebody, to get them to accept what it is that I bring to the table is too much. It's too difficult. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. For me, it's not worth it. So we're going to go ahead and put together the program, and the program is going to start with the purification mantra that is, even though we're afraid it's not going to be fair, I love and accept myself. That's the purification mantra for the elections in the United States. Now, I am looking at it from the point of view of the people that support Trump, but we really should come up with a mantra that will be satisfactory to both sides. How do we do that? Because I don't really know what the other side believes. Is that mantra going to work for them, or do they know about what appears to be so many incredible examples of election fraud in the last election? Are they aware of that? I'm not sure that the American public is. So that's going to be the mantra, that it be a fair, okay, but we have to add another word, because fair is not going to cover it. Why? Because in the last election, the people that won, I'm sure that most of them thought it was fair. I'm sure that most of them were not aware that there was apparently ballot tampering and all sorts of games having to do with the ballots. They don't know that. There's some people that know that, but most of them don't know that. So I think that we can keep that mantra. Please, God, help us with our intention that the election be fair. And probably we need to put in the second part of it, which is the transition. Please, God, help us with our intention that the election be fair and the transition. Please, God, help us with our intention that miraculously the election be fair and the transition be graceful. How's that? That is the one. Spiritually sophisticated mantrista. Can you write it for me? We've got the purification mantra. Even though we're afraid it's not going to be fair, I love and accept myself. And that takes away the negativity that's that racquetball in our heads. And then we're going to go to, please, God, help us with our intention that miraculously the election be fair and the transition elegant. Elegant does not mean diamond tiara and a ball gown with a train. It means just graceful. And if you want, we can just use the word graceful. And that is the mantra that you all have to be thinking and doing, because we are reducing ourselves to being on one side of the line or being on the other, and then trying to dig up dirt on the other side of the line. First place, this country doesn't need that. we have big troubles. We need unity. So even though people think we're doing that because we need to make sure that the people that are asleep actually know what's going on, I'm not sure that it's the best thing, big picture, long term. I'm not sure that we can get people to stop that either because they're just too frustrated. So we have the purification mantra that should reduce our stress because we don't think it's going to be fair. And then we have the intention mantra, which kind of collects stuff and points it all in the direction of that there be a fair election and a, let's use the word graceful rather than elegant, a graceful transition. I'm assuming there's going to be a transition, so I guess maybe that mantra needs to be worked on a little bit. Let's go ahead and get a visualization. The visualization is going to be the same thing as with Venezuela, and this can apply to any country in any election. You visualize yourself in December, the holidays. You're speaking on the phone or sitting next to someone. It always has to be the same visualization. So let's say you're talking on the phone. It's December 24th, and you're talking on the phone with somebody that you talk with routinely, and you're saying, isn't it incredible how isn't it incredible how isn't it incredible how peaceful and prosperous we have been since the elections? In other words, everything peaceful, and then obviously things moving in the right direction in terms of prosperity. So those purification mantra, intention mantra, and visualization. Give me a second. So in the visualization, it's the 24th of December, and you're talking to somebody you always talk to. And in the visualization, you have to use the elements in it should be things that exist, that you should have on clothes that in your closet, and your hair should kind of be done the way it usually is. If you're speaking on the phone, it's the phone that you have now or a phone that you recognize. The person is somebody that you know. So isn't it incredible how, why am I having a hard time with the visualization? Spiritually sophisticated, Mantrista, what was the visualization I just said? There's something about the visualization that's not working, or I would not be struggling with the words. Okay, so let me go back again. Give me a second. Isn't it incredible how peaceful and prosperous it's been since the elections? That's 30 days. December 24th, and the election is November the 4th. Peaceful and prosperous. Let's do that. How peaceful and prosperous. The word prosperity is very important. Okay, that's it. Please, you're talking to someone that you know and saying, is it incredible how peaceful and prosperous it's been since the elections? Okay. The way reality is created, it starts in the deepest dimension, causal dimension. That's actually where the Holy Grail is. And it starts with an image and a thought, deep dimensions. And then as you keep thinking about it, or you keep breathing, even if you're thinking subconsciously, astral particles start to accumulate around it. That's actually, I just realized that's exactly how spirits get formed in your homes. So astral particles start to congregate around it. And you're breathing and you're thinking, but it could be just subconscious, and you're energizing that image with a thought. And it goes from an image to a thought form, and it goes another dimension, and then it manifests. So you have to have an image. You can't just have a thought. And anyway, any thought you have usually has some kind of an image. So it has to be a thought, an image, okay? And there you go, the image of you on the phone with somebody that you know, always the same person, always the same clothing, always the same words. And it kind of leaves a fingerprint. And then you keep energizing it with your consciousness, with your breath, your attention, and then it moves from dimension to dimension to dimension. So I'm going to get this written up, and we're going to put a page on our website so that you can go there. Now, what we did also in Venezuela was I asked Mateo Cuaron, who does our Mantrista music. His music is sacred. It's unbelievable. And what I do is I tell him what it is that I'm looking for. Either I want to achieve, or what energy part of the energy system could use some help because it's limping. And in terms of Venezuela, to use as an example, limps having to do with free will and also faith. So it's like crown chakra. I don't know where free will would be in the body. So he put together incredible music, which should be available to the public tomorrow, the next day, with the natural instruments from Venezuela and frequencies that have to do with the crown chakra, which opens up faith. So I think I'm going to do the same thing for the United States and have a piece of music composed by Mateo Cuaron. Who else could we possibly use? What he's done for us has been so successful. He's incredible. He's Mexican. Incredible. That Mayan energy and that determination, unbelievable. So we'll get that done. And it will be another way of anchoring this program to have peaceful and fair elections in transition. Now, I remember that I had added one more word with Venezuela because there's so many games played. So something to the effect of, it has to be obvious to everybody, because if not, then you have a continuation of what's happening now. Just, we can say it's after the elections. So I don't remember the word that I used with Venezuela, but the whole thing about having a fair election, there was a word I used before that had to do with it being obvious, which basically it is obvious in Venezuela that who won. So I'm going to have to modify the mantra, and I am not going to you don't need to be witnessing me getting that modification, but it has to include people feeling satisfied that it was fair. Because if not, again, we end up in the same place with the duality. I think it's also time that we recognize this whole thing of two-party system, and I'm not saying it should be a three-party system. This whole thing of Democrat, Republican, and then people having to switch sides, I'm not sure that in terms of planet Earth, that's going to work very much longer, because the duality that we have is going to be ending relatively soon, because we're in a state of transition, a new cycle, hierarchies collapsing, the whole 9 yards. So those of you that make the big plans for this country, you might want to think about what should be the new system having to do with politics, which is such an awful arena. What should be the new system if the two-party system is not working? And politics is not working in the United States. But maybe a lot of it, the fact it's not working is because of all of the lying, and I'm going to say it because everything's coming out anyway. Everything that we've done as a country being for the good of other people. The whole lie about, and I'm not saying the Peace Corps, and yet maybe I am saying the Peace Corps and all of those agencies and committees and things to help other people, basically ultimately ended up just being a passport to the intelligence community, getting into other countries via the avenues of these charitable organizations. Well, everybody kind of knows that now. So we need to kind of address the issue of reputation and of honesty, which is getting addressed when we talk about the weaponization of the intelligence community. But it's not just the intelligence community, it's a lot of other things. In other words, we've been living a lie. The whole planet's been living a lie. I'm talking our version of living a lie, which is the reason why we needed revelations, for all of this to get revealed and everybody to go into shock and go, oh my God. And the bad guys kind of understanding that they're not going to be able to get away with it. And then we have to remember that we only can have bad guys if we need them. In metaphysics, we know that you only have a problem if you need it. There's something you haven't realized yet. There's something you haven't accepted. There's something that you're just not looking at. So when you have an enemy, what you basically have, and the Chinese know this, what you basically have is a karmic friend who is determined that you wake up to something because you've been asleep in some particular area in your life, and something in your life you've been asleep. So they have to slap you around, kick you around, do whatever. And you're like, you kind of wake up, oh, what's going on? Look at what this person is doing. But that's the point where you're supposed to stop and say, why did I need this? And that turns you into a master rather than a victim. So why did we need all of this stuff that was done to us behind the scenes? You know, why were there so many people like me across the country waking up and going into the therapeutic process in the 90s, and then nothing was done because most of the people, except for the therapist, they absolutely did believe was, I guess they're trained to know when somebody's lying or not. But how did they get away with that? How did they get away? The bad guys get away with this level of evil because it reflects on the good guys. It's not just the bad guys. The good guys, what are they, dumb as a rock? Or they don't want to see? And those are the things that have to be answered, because once Trump wins, which it's pretty obvious that he's going to, we still have to answer those questions. How did we get that asleep? I mean, we're talking about woke, but I don't think they're quite talking about woke deep enough. So we're in end times, and we have to clean up our act before this can end gracefully, and we're in the process of doing that. So we will put these mantras and visualization together. We will go ahead and order up a music for the United States. And don't quite know what else to say other than things are doing many times better than I thought they could possibly go. I did not think that we could reach this point with so many people waking up at one time. Very painful. So my negativity having to do with the future has really improved dramatically. And I go back to the two men in my life, Trump and Elon Musk. Their existence is something that needs to be honored and respected because it gives us all hope. I wish a lot more people realize that than being part of the people that are trying to drag down things that they think are flying too high. So let's go ahead and do a mantra. Oh, I did a sketch of the collective of this chat. I don't know what this is other than the fire in the planet is coming up, like when the water starts reaching the bottom step of your home and you don't know when it's going to enter your home during a flooding. That's what's going on here now. I saw from Space Weatherman that we should be hit with solar flares this weekend, but it seems to be happening every other day. It's like crying. It's not his fault. It's like crying wolf. And then, the 15th or 50th time, people aren't going to listen anymore. But I'm sketching this. It's never reached this high, the fire. There's only one eye open, which is the left eye, which is the emotional, which is usually the one that's limping. So if you look at somebody and their left eye looks like it's limping, or it's got that wrinkle that I get, or it just looks really different, like small, there's a lot of emotions. But the right eye, which has to do with physical prosperity and security, and it's not open at all. It's not even there. I don't like that. It's a little bit scary. And then you have a congestion of fire on the left. And this is where, when you use too much electronics, you get this. I'm not sure what this means. And then we only have 2 pyramids of protection, not 3. What went on between yesterday and today, I have no idea. But this is the way we look. The fact that I don't understand it doesn't mean that I need to hide the sketch. And I'll sketch the United States right now. The last sketch we did in the United States was not bad at all. So let's do that. I'm a little bit tired. When you are not born with a mouse in your hand, such as somebody like me, I'm old compared to most of you people. There's a lot of things that is easy for those that are born with a mouse in their hands compared to somebody like me. So I've been struggling with technology all day and how to connect my Shopify store with my ActiveCampaign to get all my emails. I guess it's been disconnected for a year and some or 2 years. So I have an email list that hasn't grown, and that's not good, because if things get really ugly in the elections, I'm going to get taken down in social media. Because I'm very closely supervised. So I need my email list to send newsletters. If I'm not going to be able to have my social media other than X, where I have 6 people who follow me, because I'm obviously totally controlled on X also. So we tried to connect it this afternoon, and we went from 5,000 emails to 45,000 emails, which is disgusting, because if that's a true number, I have lost the opportunity with 40,000 people in terms of promoting myself. And if it's not, how do we figure that out? So with this whole technology thing, I'm a little bit off. Okay, so here we go. United States. Oh, good. I'm looking for the pink pencil. This is a good thing. Oh, I never know what I'm going to sketch. Pink pencil. Okay. This is good. This is the root chakra. Texas. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I'm going to say it anyway. What the heck? That has to do with what I sketched yesterday, which was this, which is still the fire coming up. We're going to have troubles. ET's negotiating. We are negotiating, not me, with ETs. But the vibration of ET negotiating is not, we're going to prevent war here. That's not the feeling that I get. This is the reason for this. Do I have inside knowledge? No. This is me sketching, because all of us, including every single one of you, has the ability to know everything, has the ability to know. Inside of you, you know everything past, everything present, and everything future. So this is all, I'm looking for myself to want to grab another pen. I'm not doing it. It's not, this is all I need to sketch. Love, which is a lubricant for everything great. In the center, by the way, that is the center axis, which is literally the Holy Grail because the shape of it is literally this. I'm going to stop talking and we're going to do a mantra and we're going to quit. But we came up with a program for the elections. And now I just am missing a word. You know what? I think the word can be obviously. Let me go back to the mantra, which Spiritually Sophisticated did for me. Please, God, help us with our intention that the election be miraculously and obviously fair and the transition be graceful. The word obviously, to where it'll be obvious to everybody, not like a lot of people thinking that the Trump side stole the election. We want it to be obvious that it was fair. So I will get that reworded and I will get it up on my website, but I will bring it back tomorrow with the proper wording. Obvious. It has to be obvious. There cannot be any question marks, which there were obviously in the last one. And the question marks, once they started digging, it turned out that there were a lot of games being played, which is infuriating, especially to somebody like me who's already been there, done that. And, you know, to see more injustice is hard because it almost makes you feel like it's never going to end. I'm going to stop talking now. Let's do a mantra. And let's do a mantra about the third eye because this is a little bit Spanish. Preocupante, preoccupying, to where we only have one eye. What is that? So let's go ahead and get and that's what it's got to be, even though I'm afraid to see. And that is what it is. I think we're scared. Okay, this is the mantra. Okay, and I'll put the music on and we'll do 10 minutes. And the mantra is, even though I'm afraid to see, I love and accept myself, and that's third eye. I'm going to be ordering an icon, we call it that, a logo for the Mantrista movement, which is going to be a combination of the peace symbol and the third eye. And all of you that see the third eye and go, conspiracy, you need to get over it. The third eye is something everybody has. Science says that we have in the middle of our forehead, we have cells from eye. We have eye cells there. And that maybe at some point we had a third eye. What maybe? Yes, we had a third eye. We know it throughout history. Now science proves it, but science is still questioning it because it's not part of the belief system. That's another thing I have to say, that I learned a lot of really important things in this military program I was in. And that is, it doesn't really matter what your belief system is. Information is information. What you're seeing, that's what it is. You don't like it, it's not to your advantage. I get it. But you can't start messing around with it. That's where things go south. And that is what has gone south. Messing around with information because it wasn't to people's advantage. I said I was going to stop talking, so I'm going to do that now. And I guess I'm only going to do it if I put on, I'm going to put on the whales, which is subconscious. Okay, I feel better. I'm more relaxed. Okay, so we go into this election season with the most powerful tool that a human has, which is the power of intention. We have not had focused intention. Our intention is dispersed, and we have to be careful that our subconscious intentions don't overwhelm the intentions that we are proud of, such as that everything be elegant and fair, and our subconscious intention to show up the other guy or to prove how terrible they are. That intention could end up being stronger than the intention that it be a fair election, which means basically you're vitalizing destruction, the destruction of the other person who's part of a process that you're involved in. So we have to become aware of what our intentions are and how we screw ourselves up with subconscious intentions that are filling needs that we've had since we were a kid and usually come from some kind of trauma and are put away, and we don't even know that they are creating our reality. So we'll talk more about that, and we will be back